Clear thinking sounds easy, but most people do not control it. Richard Feynman explained that productive thought must be shaped on purpose. Most thinking runs on habit. The brain moves automatically from one idea to another. It reacts instead of choosing. Feynman made it clear that this kind of thinking does not produce useful results. It produces noise. You begin to see that the brain does not aim for clarity by default. It aims for ease. It follows the first idea that feels comfortable. This is why thinking often feels busy but leads nowhere. Productive thought starts only when you take control. You decide what the brain works on. You decide what it ignores. Structure must come before insight. Direction must come before clarity. Feynman treated thinking as a task, not a feeling. He did not wait for ideas to arrive. He forced them into shape through control. Productive thinking starts with active control. The brain avoids effort by design. Feynman explained that this is normal behavior. The brain saves energy whenever it can. Easy thoughts require less effort. Familiar ideas feel safe. Useful thinking, however, requires work. When left alone, the brain chooses comfort over accuracy. You begin to notice how quickly thinking stops when effort increases. Ideas feel complete even when they are weak. This happens because effort feels costly. The brain replaces careful thinking with shortcuts. Feynman warned that this habit blocks progress. Productive thought does not appear naturally. It requires pressure. You must push the brain past its comfort point. This resistance is not a flaw. It is a system feature. Understanding this makes thinking easier to manage. You stop blaming yourself. You start applying control. Effort is not optional for clear thinking. The brain must be pushed toward useful effort. Productive thinking needs a clear target. Feynman always began here. When the target is vague, thinking spreads in many directions. Attention jumps. Ideas mix. Nothing settles. You may think for a long time and still produce nothing useful. You begin to see that unclear goals waste mental energy. The brain cannot filter information without direction. Everything feels important. Nothing gets finished. A clear target fixes this. It narrows attention. It tells the brain what matters and what does not. Once the target is clear, thinking becomes sharper and shorter. Feynman focused on one question at a time. Not many, just one. This forced depth instead of noise. It reduced distraction at the thinking level. Clear targets also reduce fatigue. The brain stops guessing. It follows direction. Productive thought follows clear direction. Clear targets force focused thinking. Large problems stop thinking. Feynman avoided this by breaking problems apart. When a problem feels large, the brain cannot move. It sees too many parts at once. Confusion increases. Progress stops. This is mental overload. You begin to see that overload is not caused by difficulty. It is caused by size. Large problems hide the path forward. Small tasks reveal the path. Each task feels possible. Each step can be checked. Control returns to thinking. Feynman solved problems by working on the next smallest part. Not the whole problem, just the next piece that could be understood. This method forces movement. The brain cannot escape into confusion when the task is small and clear. Progress becomes steady instead of dramatic. Thinking becomes productive instead of exhausting. Small steps create productive momentum. Distraction begins inside thinking. Feynman understood this clearly. External noise matters less than internal noise. When thinking has no rules, attention breaks apart. The brain jumps to easier thoughts without warning. You begin to see that focus is not about environment. It is about control. The brain needs rules. Without rules, attention leaks. Feynman limited what he allowed into his thinking space. Not physically, but mentally. He decided what belonged and what did not. This reduced mental clutter. Thinking became quieter. Productive thought requires this kind of boundary. Distraction is not something to fight later. It must be prevented at the thinking level. Control attention to protect thinking. Simple language sharpens thinking. Feynman insisted on this rule. Complex words often hide confusion. They sound correct, but explain nothing. You begin to notice that when language becomes complex, thinking becomes weak. Simple words remove hiding places. They force ideas to stand clearly. If an idea cannot be said simply, it is not ready. Feynman used plain language to test ideas. This exposed weak thinking quickly. Illusions disappeared. Clarity increased. Productive thought depends on honest language. Simple words make honesty unavoidable. Simple language forces clear thought. Writing slows thinking down. Feynman used this on purpose. Fast thinking skips steps. It feels smooth but hides errors. Writing removes speed. Each idea must be placed clearly. You begin to see missing links. Gaps appear. These gaps show exactly where thinking fails. Writing also reduces mental load. Ideas no longer fight for space. Structure appears outside the mind. Feynman treated writing as thinking made visible. It was a tool for control. Writing turns thought into structure. Unchecked thinking drifts. Feynman prevented this by checking each step. Small errors grow when ignored. You begin to see how false progress forms when steps are skipped. Checking each step keeps thinking honest. It prevents drift. Accuracy improves. Feynman believed that careful checking protects speed. Errors caught early save time later. Checked thinking produces reliable results. Testing sharpens thinking. Feynman tested ideas early. Delay allows confusion to settle. Immediate testing shows weakness while it can still be fixed. You begin to see that failure at this stage is useful. It points directly to what needs work. Testing creates feedback. Feedback improves thinking. Immediate testing sharpens thinking. Rebuilding proves understanding. Feynman relied on this test. Only strong ideas survive rebuilding. Weak ones collapse. You begin to see how rebuilding tightens structure. Each rebuild removes confusion. Rebuilding proves real understanding. Productive thinking is not talent. Feynman made this clear. Control must be practiced. Habits shape thinking. Each time you guide thought, clarity grows. You begin to see that effort becomes easier. Structure becomes normal. Productive thought becomes automatic through practice. Feynman's method works because it is repeatable. Simple steps. Clear rules. Honest thinking. Practice turns effort into productive thought.